All right, guys. Next matchup, we got Carry On Wayward Sons versus Hoop. There it is. All right, so I want to start out with this one by making a statement. If you watch the standings video that I made, I went through and I looked at those points for and points against range. Um, whereas I pointed out Will's record and how it's a little fluky because of those statistics of that points against uh, data. Uh, sorry, Will. It's just literally, genuinely what the data represents. So, you totally be wrong. You could make playoffs and it could not come back to haunt you at all. But one thing that wasn't fluky was Nathan's. He's actually kind of right where he's supposed to be and where his points for and points against are. And so, I think in the beginning of the year, maybe I know I was a little bit, and maybe some others were a little bit down on Nathan's team. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think his team is producing, and I think he's got a good team, and could bode well for him for the remainder of the season because he's been exactly where his team is producing, and so I don't think Nathan's record is fluky at all. It's kind of where it is. On the other hand, we look at Caleb. And I think Caleb's been on a downward swing. I think he knows it. I think he's been throwing some trades out there to a little bit try to do an overhaul here. I feel like I could be in a similar spot, although I do think my team is producing. Um, but got a little connection thing there. Um, but overall, I think Caleb's been on a downward swing, so you may have received a trade offer from Caleb. I'm still waiting on mine so that we can do some business. I need a quarterback. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, so let's dig into this matchup. So we got Russell Wilson against Matt Moore. I think easily Matt Moore could get into that 17 to 20 range going against Minnesota. On the outside, it looks like a little bit of a tougher defense. They're at home. 17 to 20 is definitely where I would put him. So I like him to go over his projected number. Russell Wilson at 25.6. I think that's pretty fair for what he's going to do against this Tampa Bay defense. Could easily 25 to 30. Yeah, I definitely could see that. Well, so I like both of these guys to go over their projection or be somewhere right in the range of it. But clearly that gives Russell the edge there to have a big game against that Tampa Bay defense. Tariq Cohen at Zeke and Ty Johnson at Marlon Mack. So, I mean, Nate's clearly got a huge edge when it comes to the running back matchups this week, despite who they're playing. I mean, the Giants don't scare you. Pittsburgh is something, but it doesn't scare you a ton. Philadelphia, Oakland. So none of the matchups are just they crazy stand out or anything like that. But Tariq Cohen is exactly what we thought he was and what he has been all year. In fact, his highest points were still in week 1 when Chicago had no idea what they were doing with their offense, and now Chicago has no idea what they're doing with their offense. So he's stayed consistently around that 7 to 12 range. And I think that's just what he is in this offense. And I think David Montgomery continues to get more volume as they're going to go more run heavy, which they kind of have been. It's just such a mess there. But Tariq Cohen, I think, is right where he is, which is where he has been. And I don't expect that to change. Ty Johnson, now here's one that did throw me by surprise. I expected Ty Johnson to be the clear number 1 back in Detroit when Carry-On went down. That didn't happen. Was it Trey Carson? I think that's his name. He split workload, if not had a little bit of an edge in the workload versus Ty Johnson. So all that being said, I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm not waving the white flag on Ty Johnson. But I think this backfield for Detroit is either going to be more of a committee moving forward, or it just hasn't worked itself out yet, in which it could be Ty Johnson still coming and getting the number 1 lead back role, but clearly there may be a trust issue there, or it could be Trey Carson. So, that's kind of a wait to be seen scenario there. But but you can't feel great about it. DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Gallup. New York Giants are giving up a ton of points to the wide receiver. Here's my bold projection for the week. Michael Gallup, 5 catches, 100+ yards. I think he has a big day. Could he find the end zone there? Yeah, he could. But I expect him to actually be more of a wash here with DeAndre Hopkins than you would expect. DeAndre got right last week. He's a super talented dude. It was bound to happen. He could probably carry that. I mean, the 19 range, yeah, I think that's more of a ceiling for him. I could see him between that 15 to 20 range, but that's exactly where I see Gallup as well. So this is a wash for me. T.Y. Hilton, Golden Tate. T.Y.'s been dealing with injuries, it feels like, all throughout the season, so you don't like that. Oh, that got Boots excited. You don't like that, Boots. Golden Tate, he had that big week, but hasn't produced significantly since then. And so I'm calling that one more of a wash as well. But I would give the edge here to T.Y. Hilton just because I think he's the better talent overall. Travis Kelce, Minnesota, Jonnu Smith. Man, I love the Jonnu Smith pickup there. If Delaney Walker's out, I think that's a really good pickup and a really good start that I could see paying off for Nathan in this matchup. That being said, of course I'm going to give Kelce the edge. He's in that top 5 tier of tight ends. Yeah, there's Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, George Kittle, Austin Hooper, and maybe Mark Andrews is up there. But either way, he's in that top tier, and so you like that. Larry Fitzgerald, Deontay Johnson. Oh man, it's another tough matchup for Larry, for Fitzy. Deontay Johnson is really getting involved with this Pittsburgh passing game, and I would suspect that they're going to go a little more pass heavy this week. They've been opening things up for Mason Rudolph, and with James Conner potentially missing, Benny Snell missing. I think they're going to go more pass heavy here, and so I'm going to give the edge to Deontay Johnson to have a better day than Fitzgerald. Going against San Francisco's defense, it's just a really tough one. Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield. Gardner Minshew, you can throw on this Houston defense. Denver's defense is a little bit tougher. Baker has not proven himself whatsoever. He has more production on the Twitter feed than he does on the field, clearly. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't mind rolling him out there against Denver. It's not a bad play, but Gardner Minshew definitely has the edge in that matchup. Bills defense at Washington, you like that. Bengals, Washington, Dolphins, all of these guys are just in the Tua Bowl. And I suspect this when I get to a Miami matchup. Miami's defense, I think they're purposefully making calls to allow the other team's offense to score. It's just me, but anyways, that's neither here nor there in this matchup. Eagles against Chicago. I like the play. Chicago's offense is a wreck. It's terrible. It's horrible. It makes me insane. I can't stand it. I hope they lose every game. I just don't like what they're doing there in Chicago, and I don't think they're going to be able to produce through the season. It wouldn't surprise me if the coach got fired after the season. It's been the expectations coming the season of what he's done. Oh, it just gets me heated. It's so bad. So Bills against Washington. I still like the edge there. It wouldn't surprise me either way. All in all, man, I think this is a lot closer of a matchup than the projections have it as right now. And in fact, I'd say this. I think the running back game is so lopsided in this matchup that I'm going to pick Hoop, there it is, to take another win and to pull another upset. His team's been crazy as of lately. I think it continues this week. So there you go.